Well, we finally did it. An ancient genie escaped from its prison deep underground and granted every schoolchild and employed adult's wish to have the perfect excuse to stay home and not do anything for weeks on end. Only now that we can't leave the house to visit friends, go to the cinema, sit in a cafe, or even go shopping or go to raves. Oh, how I miss raves! We're getting bored quite quickly, but there's one thing that's always there for us. Video games! We know about them. Whilst it is tempting to fill this list with on-the-nose games about contagion and apocalypses, this is still a rather grim situation, and if we wanted to see streets devoid of life, struggle to find resources, and receive ominous messages from the government about containment of the outbreak, then we'd just turn on the TV or go outside. No, do not go outside. So we'd much rather take our minds off all that and go for some good old-fashioned escapism, and we're probably going to be here for a little while longer, so there's a lot we can get through, including family games, narrative games, and free-to-play games, because everyone deserves an escape without having to pay for it. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 video games to play during quarantine. Number 10. The Jackbox Party Pack. For better or for worse, right now many of you are trapped inside your homes with either your family, your significant other, or your roommates, so you might as well make an occasion of it before you end up killing each other, huh? Originally released in 2014 and with a new release pretty much every year, the Jackbox Party Pack series of games is basically a set of party games, only more entertaining, more technologically focused, and more hygienic. Some of the more popular titles are Quiplash, where players fill in the missing words, Drawful, where you have to guess a drawing, and Trivia Murder Party, a full-on murder house where the players are whittled down, very literally, to see who can escape with their lives. However, in many of these games you can get just as many points for a funny or wrong answer than for getting the right one. Unlike other supposedly connective games, only one person needs to own a copy, with all other players using their phones as controllers, meaning you can play internationally if you have a streaming setup or a friend who doesn't mind filling in entirely contextless prompts and missing out on the majority of the punchlines. They'll be alright. Number 9. Call of Duty Warzone. While your Fortnites and your Apex Legends have kind of faded into the background, having become a hunting ground for tweens and hardcore battle royale players, it still hasn't stopped some games companies from trying to cash in on the still somewhat popular trend of throwing a bunch of people into an arena and seeing who's the last one standing. While Warzone is technically a part of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you don't need to buy the full game in order to play. Introducing a 150-player roster, the map shrinks over the course of the game to push the players closer and closer together. So far, so Battle Royale. However, instead of dying, players will instead be taken to a gulag to take part in a 1v1 match against another player for the privilege of being able to rejoin the game. Best part about it though? It's free. A similar, admittedly far jankier example of a Battle Royale extension of an existing title is Fallout 76 with the Nuclear Winter Battle Royale mode, but if we mention Fallout 76 too many times in a row, the vengeful genie might come back and make this home imprisonment thing permanent. Also, it isn't free, and it's just a bit rubbish really. Number 8. Subnautica. Plunged into the uncharted oceans of Planet 4546b, Subnautica is a combination of a sandbox game and an adventure story. Yeah, it might be fun exploring the wreck of your spaceship, the Aurora, and the abandoned life pods and bases around the ocean, finding records of those who came before you. You could track down the crew logs and artifacts to piece together exactly why your ship crash landed in the middle of this ocean, but it is more fun to build the biggest, most impressive underwater base you possibly can, with its own greenhouse, private study, aquarium, docking station for your own personalized private submarine, and a connected land base with an outdoor garden area and a gorgeous view of the sunset. But if you really want, you can follow the story of the planet and the origins of the mysterious fire. On second thought, better skip the plot for now. Just enjoy the escapism of watching the fish. Number 7. Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. With an average of 77 hours of gameplay apiece for all 4 main Borderlands games, if you are aiming for a completionist run that is, there are certainly worse ways to spend your time than running through the wastes of Pandora and its neighbouring moons and planets. Named after the villain of the series, Handsome Jack, the Handsome Collection was released in 2014 for PS4, Xbox One, and Windows, containing both Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel, as well as all of the available DLC for both games. Graphically remastered and with a smooth technical tune-up, it is also capable of split-screen local and online multiplayer for up to 4 players, so you can include the family you're stuck with if you don't fancy playing Jackbox. While the original Borderlands isn't included in the bundle, it itself did receive a similar separate remaster all of its own in 2019 on the run-up to the release of the brand new Borderlands 3. With a total runtime of 309 hours across all 4 games, that's only around 12 days back to back to back to back to back, so strap yourselves in, get some snacks, drinks, plot out toilet breaks, and grab a pair of deep vein thrombosis socks, because you aren't going to be leaving your room for a while. Number 6. The Stanley Parable. Well, looks like someone didn't get the memo or government text message. One day, a man named Stanley realizes that all of his fellow employees of the nameless, faceless, and productless corporation he belongs to have all up and vanished. I could make the obvious self-isolation joke here, but shutting down the business doesn't quite explain why the lights are still on and why no one told Stanley, why there is a smooth-voiced man narrating everything, and why there's a mass surveillance room and a mind control facility underneath the building, or where everybody has gone. The game has seemingly endless paths, branches, and limitless endings. Stanley can either follow the narrator's instructions or go completely in his own direction, of which there are many. With hidden options, entire museums of game development, fun optional endings that involve telephone calls and broom cupboards, and interactive games including Following the Yellow Line and the award-winning Stop the Baby Walking into the Fire. There are apparently hundreds of hours of dialogue the narrator can say that keep things feeling fresh. As the loading screen says, the end is never. Or is it the end is never, the end is never, the end is never the end? Number 5. Minecraft. Okay, this is a rather obvious one, but in a period where you aren't allowed to go anywhere or apparently do anything, we really need a game that allows you to go anywhere and do anything. In an endless, randomly generated world, there is no end game or objective set out for you, apart from maybe taking down a big dragon, but who has time for that? Become a farmer, build a house, dig a mine, find the nether, build a giant Billy Ray walrus. Or just get lost and wander about because you stepped off your boat 5 minutes ago to chop down a few trees and now you can't find it again, and you're lost. It's getting dark and you don't want to switch to creative mode, but you don't want to start a new game because you just finished the homestead and you had some platinum horse armor in a chest that you were saving for when you found your ideal champion, the Wonder Horse. Additionally, Minecraft has an online multiplayer if you can work out how to set up a server, or, just play the console version instead. Number 4. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. You know what I miss? The outdoors. Yeah, the one thing our parents never thought they'd hear us say. Human nature being how it is, as soon as you have to stay inside, we want nothing more than to get out, even if staying inside makes literally no difference to how you usually live your day-to-day life. Either like cats, really. Humans are just like giant cats. No, wait. The Legend of Zelda has always been about exploring, but Breath of the Wild gave us not only that, but cooking mechanics and non-linear gameplay that allows you to go directly to defeat the final boss from literally the first minute of the game with no weapons, no clothes, and just a whole lot of gumption. With over 180 plus hours of gameplay for a completionist run, although the average playtime to the final boss is usually around 60 hours, there are enough extras in the game to avoid doing the main quest for almost 100 hours if you just fancy mooching about cooking, defeating those totally not robot guardians, and spending way too much time perfecting trick shots and collecting chickens to throw at enemies. Number 3. No Man's Sky. With travelling definitely off the table for the foreseeable future, the outside world has never looked so appealing. But with No Man's Sky, you can finally get around to doing all those things you've been putting off. See sights, do scientific studies, learn new languages, and make friends and enemies. The release of No Man's Sky in 2016 could be described as rocky. Others would say it was bloody disastrous, although it continues to receive updates improving the game and fulfilling broken promises. However, what you can't deny is that the one thing the game requires is time. In fact, one Polygon article did the maths and worked out that it would take you 585 billion years to see every single possible planet that could be generated in the game, and that's if you visited one every second. However, for the less hardcore gamers, the general estimation for reaching the apparent end game is between 30 and 60 hours, depending on how much sightseeing you want to get done along the way. With an entire universe at your disposal, you can travel anywhere without the police asking you where you think you're going. Also, with its language learning mechanic, once this is over, you can return to the office to boast about how you've learned 3 different languages during your time at home. Doesn't necessarily matter that they're Viking, Korvax, and Gek. You might just not want to add them to your CV though. Number 2. God of War. In times of trouble such as these, many people turn to faith. Kratos from God of War had a similar idea, but in an albeit more violent fashion. God of War 2018 is the 8th entry in the God of War franchise and a technical soft reboot for the series. Ironically, considering the current situation, it is the one time where Kratos isn't actually alone. Venturing through 6 of the 9 realms of Norse mythology, he and his boy, Atreus, are going to scatter the ashes of his dead wife and mother. The boy's mother, this isn't an Oedipus situation, of course, because Kratos would probably, beat him to death and well, let's face it, he's already had a pretty rough week, hasn't he? Compared to its earlier entries, God of War is a very cinematic game, meaning you can enjoy the gorgeous views of the Scandinavian fjord and get the bonus of some spiritual catharsis in this troubling time by punching Boulder in the face. While the original God of War was more a hack and slash that allowed you to control Kratos, testosterone incarnate, no last name, in decimating the entire Olympian pantheon, this is more emotionally focused. Kratos has got a beard now. He's got pathos. Kratos. Number 1. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. In the newest entry for the Animal Crossing series, you are not so much stuck on a desert island as willingly cast away with known capitalist Tom Nook and his mini-me's. However, for an island that's 10 feet long, you will find that there is a surprising amount to do. You can weed, blaze it, plant trees and flowers, catch fish, and bother the unfortunate neighbours who have also ended up here with you. However, unlike games such as Stardew Valley, once all your jobs are finished, you can't go to bed and have the next day arrive just like that, unless you're a dirty time traveller who changes the date on your Nintendo Switch to skip forward. So once your chores and activities are done, you have to go to bed in the real world and wait for the next day to arrive. This slow burn approach to gameplay means that you can't rush through the game in a binge. Instead, you can return to it a few times a day. There's no choice but to be casual, no hardcore gamers here, and it can help to give your time at home some sense of structure, even if it is just popping in to shake trees and terrify Blathers with yet another ghastly bug for his collection. I could sell it, I could just sell it. Do you want it or not? Be appreciative. While some would consider that boring, no one is really more than a few days ahead of anyone else, meaning there's no real sense of competition. However, if you still want to fast track, then there are certain ways of bringing home the bacon. Or rather, pockets full of tarantulas. I'm with you on this one, Blathers. And that's our list. What other games have you chosen to play through during your self-imposed isolation? Let us know in the comments below. You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and while you're at it, why not support the things you enjoy by having a look at our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.